Hello and welcome everyone to the Gaming Dads podcast. Welcome once again, episode number 3. I am Scotch and Tharoah. You call me Scotch Tharoah once again.
Episode 3, man. This has gone really quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's surprising that we're doing an episode every 2 weeks somehow.
Yeah.
But it seems like we just started literally yesterday.
No, that's been the thing for me too. It's like it's not only that, it's like pumping them out, number one, but then like having topics to be able to discuss stuff and getting that stuff together, which has been pretty cool. Like that's helped speed things along, I feel like.
Oh, and shout out to the community for actually giving us topics to kind of go off of. We got a huge response over things that you guys want to hear, and it's super interesting to listen to what you guys want. And now what's even more interesting is if you're watching my stream right now, you're listening to the podcast recording live. Now, everybody else is not going to be able to hear this till next Monday because I'll be moving this week. So shout outs to everybody that's in my stream listening right now.
Shout outs to Tharoah's stream for sure, man. Live first. This is the first live podcast actually too.
It is.
So
all of the other ones, I haven't even had to have a shirt on for. It's great.
I didn't shower for any of mine, so
that's fair.
Yeah.
I'm sure your wife loves that.
Oh, listen. When I'm not working, it's straight up. It's like you streaming. It's degen.
Exactly.
It's straight degen. Don't shower until like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yes.
And it's just, yeah. I mean, that's how it is dad life, though. Yeah.
That really is dad life.
So I'm just embracing it.
You might as well. I mean, there's nothing else to do right now.
Going full dad. I mean, you might as well. So, but for this podcast, so like we said, it's live. Doing it on Tharoah's stream this time around.
Yep.
So appreciate everyone watching. We got like about 100 people watching right now. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But if you're
had some fat raids and just in time.
Yeah. So if you're watching this on Monday on YouTube, we might be talking a little bit with chat here if there's someone says something interesting. So just a little context there. You won't be able to see the chat, but we'll give context to that. If it comes along. But a couple of nice topics that we've got going on today. A couple of viewer topics, but a couple of things that came up on our own. Number one, a couple of viewer topics. What are some games that we're looking forward to? Music and video games. That should be an interesting one.
Yep, that's going to be huge.
What makes a good speed game? And we've been talking about this a little bit. We discussed this in the first podcast to a certain degree, but kind of extending off that, speedrunning as an esport.
Oh, yeah.
And then a couple of things on our own. Something that I came up with. 5 games that you would define, how you would define your gaming interest. I saw a tweet. Someone was tweeting it out and spreading it a little bit. What 5 games would you choose to define your gaming interest if someone were to like pick up your
I think it was
games.
Sean Rader. I saw Sean Rader do that.
So we'll talk about that first, but then lastly, because I'm very interested with you, how you chose your username.
Ooh.
So we'll get straight into it though. So first of all, 5 games that you would define your gaming interests. I mean, it's a little difficult because both of us, like we said in the last podcast, there's such a wide range of games that both of us have played.
Right. So, for me, and I know that only some of the guys that listen or watch my stream have heard me talk about it before. World of Warcraft defined me for a really long time.
Really?
Yep.
I would not pick you for a WoW guy.
Let's see. 10 years?
Wow.
Yeah. That really it ate up my life for a really long time, but it defined how I look at games, how I look at MMOs. I was 21 or so. Yeah, about 21 whenever World of Warcraft came out, and that was like the new big thing is MMOs. They've had a few others before that, like Anarchy Online and a couple others, but World of Warcraft, I could literally delve myself into with all of my friends and just spend hours and hours and hours doing absolutely nothing,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy, you know. So World of Warcraft, Super Mario 64, which everybody sees me play every day. Perfect Dark is another one.
Perfect Dark?
Yeah, Perfect Dark.
Man.
Amazing game. My fourth one is probably Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Mm.
Super nerd with that. And fifth, I'd have to say, oh, that was tough. Come back to me for the fifth one.
Yeah. Well,
let me think about it.
So I took a hard look at this one because it's one of those things where it's like, man, you have your top 5 favorite games that you play consistently, right?
Right.
And those games, like, you play them constantly. But the thing with picking 5 games is that you've got to pick 5 games that would define your, like, the whole span of games that you play. You can't just be Super Mario 64, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario World, whatever, because those are all like the same kind of things. It's all platformers in the same genre, in the same lineage, really. So I thought about it for a little bit. I was like, oh, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Odyssey. I'm like, no, that I can't do that because
they're similar.
It's the same. It's essentially the same game, but like in different ways. So
the same genre.
Yeah. So I went with Super Mario 64 as my first one. Just again, like I said in the first podcast, you know, that's the first game that I ever played. That's the game that defined, you know, why I love video games. It was the game that, you know, it just brought me into the world of video games and, you know, that sort of thing. And just the memories of me and my uncles playing that game and then me picking it back up almost 15 years later after I first started playing it. 20 years later, geez, Manise.
And play it a whole new way.
Playing a whole different way. I mean, that's the quintessential game for me, Super Mario 64. My number 2, Pokemon Ruby.
Really?
And let me explain. I was going to go with Emerald, but I didn't pick up Emerald until recently, so it didn't make any sense for me to put a game on there that I hadn't, you know, started playing. You know, the first Pokemon game I played was Crystal. I later picked up Yellow.
Right.
But it wasn't like on my radar necessarily at the beginning.
Sure.
So but then the first game that like I really loved Pokemon was Pokemon Ruby. And that just like became my game. Right. And it really encapsulated like my love of Pokemon and my love of these RPGs, you know. In particular Pokemon. And I think that people like RPGs, but everyone loves Pokemon.
Right.
Like, who doesn't? So Pokemon Ruby, that was the one for me. I'm going to skip over one and move on to another one because you and I have one in common. But the one I'm going to get to now is Raccoon.
I've never heard of that.
Raccoon is an incredible game. Everyone should play it.
Like, what is it? What type of game?
It is like it's a 16-bit it's a bit game.
Right.
And it's
I'm Googling it right now.
Hugely story-based. Like, massively story-based. If you don't finish this game crying, then either you have no soul or you didn't play the game correctly. It's kind of like in the same vein as like Stardew Valley, like how the graphics are, but it's a story about this kid, and I'm not gonna delve into it too much because you gotta play it on your own. It's one of those games that you can't have someone tell you about the game. You have to play it yourself. My wife and I played it together, and that, oh my gosh, like that.
Let's see, 2-dimensional indie role-playing adventure video game.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And it's just a beautiful story. It's you know, we talk about video games as art.
Right.
That is a piece of art. That is a game that should be solidified in like the history of games as art because it's just so good. You you know. And it's again, I like pretty games, and it's one of those games that's just pretty. It's just a pretty,
It looks at just from
beautiful
the
game.
like screenshots that I'm seeing now.
So if you haven't played that, definitely pick it up. Rakuen, Rakuen. The second to last one I have is Breath of the Wild. First Legend of Zelda game I ever played. I
really
never played a Legend of Zelda game up until BOTY.
So not even Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, any of the 2D Zeldas, none of those.
Nope, nothing. And
wow.
Breath of the Wild made me say, okay, I've got to play OOT now, and that's how I got into OOT, and you know, all the other Zelda games, of course. But it's just you know, again, really good story based, beautiful, pretty game. Something that you can really sink your teeth into and just enjoy and just be with. And that's what I look for in video games in a big way. And then the last one on my list is Flight Sim.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Flight Sim 10, man. I for a long time wanted to be a pilot.
Same.
And unfortunately, when I was in high school, I found out I was colorblind.
Same.
And I thought that because of that, I couldn't get my pilot's license. And because I wanted to go into the military and be in the Air Force. But turns out, I don't know if you knew this, but if you're colorblind, you can still get your Class 1 medical license and you can fly commercial planes.
I did not know that.
So I'm actually working on that right now. I'm actually
that's really cool.
Within the next couple months, within the next month or so, I'm gonna get tested to see if I can get my Class 1 medical license so I can fly commercially.
For me, like as a kid, let's say as a teenager, I actually bought a yoke and everything to be able to play. And my dad would walk in and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "All right, I'm flying from New York to Chicago right now in real time." And he's like, "What? Why?" It's like driving a bus. I said, "Because it's fun. Leave me alone." Yeah.
No, and so I got really into it about a year ago. And I found a whole community of people who play flight sim like all the time. They play it realistically and everything. And I learned from them, and I actually became quote unquote a traffic controller in the server. So
Which is really cool.
Oh man, it was just like actually flying planes, and you'd taxi them out. You'd have them taxi down the runway. They'd take off. You'd vector them in. It was the coolest thing. So just reliving that experience, and it's a simulator, so it's very clearly not for everybody. If you're not into simulators, then you definitely want to stay away from it. But if you want to understand and you want to like really get into a game that is just kind of chill, and you can fly planes and you can just kind of do whatever you want
and just be a nerd,
and just be if you just want to be a nerd for a little while, play Flight Sim. It's
relaxing.
And the thing is like you get into the game and you can just like fly. Like there's nothing keeping you from you can be professional if you want to, but you don't have to.
Or you can just try loop the loop in a 747 if you really want.
Yeah, and the other nice thing is that you can mod the crap out of the game.
Oh yeah.
So
I did come up with my last one.
There you go.
With you talking. I can't necessarily pick one. Actually, yes, I can. Grand Theft Auto Vice City. I remember playing that game on the PlayStation 2 for hours and not doing anything really, but the fact that I love open world games, I love sandbox games that I literally can go in and I can build an empire in, really defined where I am. And I think that's what led into the World of Warcraft, because you have that ability of being open-ended. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the reason why I like Breath of the Wild so much, is because you can do what you want to do. Like, I don't like games that restrict you too much.
Right.
I hate games that it's like, why, like, you have to do it this way. Like, I saw a huge argument, like, there was a huge argument about Death Stranding. Like, you got to play the game this way. Well, I don't want to play the game that way. Like, I want to play it the way I want to play it. Exactly. So, that's why I picked the games that I picked, is because it's, like, games that you can do what you like. Rakuen is a little bit more like linear, but most of these games you can do what you want to do. So anyway, but cool. All right, so 5 games that defined you. Now, defining you as
Mhm.
Tharoah, yeah.
Right.
Where did Tharoah come from?
So, fun fact about the name Thero, I've had it since 2005. I've It was right when we started playing World of Warcraft, which is the people that we're moving with. Um, a buddy of mine who I've known since basic training, through tech school, through first location. He and I started World of Warcraft together, and I'm sitting in his excuse me, in his dorm room, trying to figure out a name for my character. And I'm just kind of looking around, and I look onto the wall, and I see a picture of a sphinx. Well, as a kid, I had the childhood nickname of Trey because I'm the third, so Trey was my childhood nickname. Nobody calls me that anymore except for my family. So I had the childhood nickname of Trey. So I just took the T and put it on the word Pharaoh. Well, after I put it in, I realized I spelled the word Pharaoh incorrectly. So
I like how that's where you go. Like,
right. So I'm like, okay, I spelled it wrong, and it just kind of stuck. So um, anywhere you see on the internet, Pharaoh is me with the exception of one thing, and that's for some reason there's a man. I think he lives in Ohio. He's a dentist, and he runs competitively, and his first name is actually Pharaoh. It's the craziest. Pharaoh Collins, I think his name is. So shout outs to that guy. But um, everywhere else, it's me. You know, I find myself on forums from like 2004. I'm like, I remember posting this, kind of, not really, but okay. But so that's where I came from, and it's stuck. People even now to this day on Xbox still text me and say, "Hey man, just wanted to see how you're doing, Thero." You know, and it's become a part of who I am, I guess.
Just you are Tharoah.
Yeah, I am Thero. Period.
Isn't that weird? Like how your username just becomes attached to who you are.
Right.
So, like, it was such a bizarre experience going to GDQ and everyone calling me Scotch, and I'm like, oh wait, that's my username. That's right. That's how we do this now.
Right.
We don't actually like learn people's first names at all, which was so weird to me.
Right. Oh yeah.
So, but that's part of the culture, though.
So I had a buddy of mine who I'd known on Xbox for years and years and years, and he came down and moved with us. Lived with us for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But the entire time, he never called me by my real name. He literally, hey, Thero! Hey, Thero! And I'm like, it just, again, became a part of who I am as a person.
You know my name.
Right. But so Scotch and Thai Guy.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, your username, I know we've had the conversation about the interest and things that we like outside of gaming, but your username actually defines you.
Yeah. So,
you know?
I kind of I've had like so many usernames over the years.
Give me some. Hit them on me.
So the main one that I used over and over and over again was Surfer Main.
Surfer Main?
Surfer Main. MAIN at the end of that.
All
and
right.
it was when Gucci Mane was a thing.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was a surfer. I loved surfing. I've been surfing since I was 10, and I was like, oh, I'll just put Maine at the end of my name, and that's just what it was for years.
Gucci Gang.
Yeah, Gucci Gang, Surfer Gang, whatever.
Yeah.
And over time, I stopped using Surfer Main, and just because I like didn't do as much online gaming, and
Right.
I got back into it about 3 or 4 years ago. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I have my degree in theology.
Mm-hmm.
So big Jesus boy over here. And
right.
When I told you about post grad problems, well, when I got on there, I was like, oh, I've got to have a persona. I've got to have some sort of like something to like to meme, you know, because like
something that's you.
Yeah. So there were a bunch of like different quote unquote character commenters, like who would comment in the.
Oh, I think I lost him. Are you there?
Hello?
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I don't know why my
good.
USB went out, but anyway, so you had character commenters in the comments below, like different articles or videos or whatever. So I was like, oh, you know, what'd be hilarious is if I pretended to be Jesus. So
Okay.
I became the real Jesus in the comment section, and like I was a thing. Like I was the guy. I had like people like messaging me on Reddit and stuff like that, being like, "Oh, I want to meet up with you and get drinks with you and everything." I'm like, "No, you don't. I don't know who you are, but okay."
Right, I have
like,
no clue who you are.
this is just it was purely me like joking about being Jesus, but it became like I became one of the big commenters, and people were like looking forward to reading the comments on. So I was
Right.
the real Jesus for a very, very long time, and I got right before I got fired back in February of 2019.
19.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's around October. I was starting to get into speedrunning, and that's when I was like, "Oh, I'll just make it the real Jesus." I'm like, "No, that's not. That's I gotta get rid of that username. It's not as cool. It's not as unique or interesting. It's it would be weird." I just felt it was going to be a weird username. So I thought to myself, I was like, okay, I got to brand myself. I have to have something that's like, that's a brand. That's like something that defines this person, right? Who is this guy? And I thought about it a while, and I remember going on a bachelor party, and I'd brought scotch, and everyone at the bachelor party started calling me Scotchy. Because I had brought the scotch, I had brought the good stuff, and everyone was drinking it straight from the bottle. We were having a great time, right?
Right.
So I thought a lot about scotch and how like I love scotch. I love drinking. I love having just a glass of scotch at the end of the night and just chilling, playing video games. And I've been really not like super into dressing well, but I like to just be presentable.
You like to look nice.
I gotta look nice. I gotta present myself in a good way, and so I was like, "What's good?" Like, I was like, "What Scotch and jacket?" I'm like, "No, I can't wear a jacket because I'm gonna draw." So I had already known I was gonna draw a stick figure. I was like, "Well, I can't draw a jacket on a stick figure." And then all of a sudden, I was just messing around in MS Paint, and I just drew a tie. The tie that you see on the screen if you're watching this on Monday. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That looks good. And I was like, oh, Scotch and tie guy. And it just was like, that's it. So.
And it works.
Yeah.
It really works because I know that, you just had a son, 10 weeks ago?
He is now, how old is he? 12 weeks old. My wife is confirming. He is 12 weeks old.
So yeah, that's 3 months ago. You got a 3-month-old now. And now you've already updated to where you have that same, Scotch and tie guy, but a baby with a baby bottle.
Oh, yeah.
Now the question is it juice or is it scotch in the baby bottle?
I'm going to leave that up to listeners or viewers' discretion to make a decision on that. Your interpretation of what's in the bottle.
Yeah, that's fair.
But no, that was the thing. It was just like, how do I define myself? How do I brand myself? And that's how I would define and brand myself. And people, it's cool because it creates a conversation. Like, oh, what kind of scotch are you into? Oh, why the tie? Yep. Oh, well, I like to dress well. Well, are you on like review bra levels of dressing well? I'm like, no, not that. I'm not that fancy. I'm not like constantly wearing a jacket and a suit everywhere I go. But
but still, it defines your brand really well, and it fits you as a person, I think. And it's so funny with my username. I'll go into a stream, and now that I'm a little bit more established, I'm not anything big or anything on Twitch, of course, but people kind of recognize my name from the commentary that I've done that on GSA, and I know they have with you as well. So they typically pronounce my name correctly. However, I have had thank you for the follow, Tharoah, and so it's become a meme. It really has become a meme of my name actually being pronounced throw up.
Oh my god!
So that's kind of been a recent meme that's popped up. J-Mill is really pushing it hard, but people are starting to recognize the name, and I really like that. And I think the same with you. Scotch and tie guy. That's very noticeable. It's it defines who you are.
Well, and then the other nice thing is that you can shorten it very, very easily. Like Scotch and tie guy, you can just call me Scotch, and it just works. But the one thing I would get for so long is I'd get people who are like, oh, you mean like Scotch tape? I'm like, haha, you're so funny. Like, that's hilarious. You're a funny guy.
Right.
You're a real funny
Right.
guy. So, but no, again, it was just like something that defines me, and I'm able to brand it. And that's the thing. Like, one of the things when I was making videos is like, how do I brand myself? Because that's how what these people do is they brand. So, how do you brand yourself? How do you make yourself presentable to the audience?
I'm never presentable to the audience. I mean,
as
it's
dads, are we ever?
Right. It's true. But I mean, like I'm kind of scrolling through Twitter right now, and it makes me think of like, what is Liam's thing? His thing is having a bit rate of 7.
Yep.
And I thought it was the funniest thing after he got world record. Everybody posting a picture of him being pixelated and said, "Oh my God, look how excited he is!"
Oh my God, that.
And so that's his brand, which is funny.
But like Big John. That's perfect. That's like a perfect example of like amazing branding.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
and he plays great games too.
Yeah, I mean, you never think about like your username being like so critical in that way, but in this day and age, when you're trying to expand yourself, like XXX Murder Man 69 XXX isn't gonna work anymore.
XXX,
so.
Yeah, exactly. So, for those of you that are actually watching it live on the stream right now, I am gonna pop it up there, really, really fast to show you the Scotch and Tie guy with baby picture, so you guys can get an idea. So this is the one that we were talking about, and it's great. It really is good.
Oh my God!
Baby bow tie and everything.
I drew that in 5 seconds. It took me like maybe a minute, maybe.
if you aren't following Scotch and Tie guy, you really need to, because you can just scroll through his feed. And I just crack up. There was one that I was just looking at a second ago. I'm going to scroll up and find it, because I don't even think you understand how hilarious you are.
Oh, no. I'm the funniest guy ever.
Here we go. February 24th. What she sees on Tinder versus what's at the bar. So, so like, really?
I think Turgi drew that. I'm pretty sure.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think he did, because it was something like oh yeah, no, Geneticist was doing she was drawing stuff for other people.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And I was like, oh, draw me, and Turgi just drew that and sent it like a minute later. So
that's amazing.
I've kept that as my Twitter profile picture.
That's beyond amazing.
Yeah, but no.
But yeah.
Good background there, though. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. Not a whole lot going on in speedrunning lately.
Really?
Not a lot of drama. I mean, we had the Liam thing, and then we had Aki, but other than especially in SM64, other than that, nothing much lately.
I mean, it is quiet right now, but there's still a couple of small things going on. We still have the Club 100 races that are going on. We still have Tom Carr says it's because he's on his break from Zero Star right now. But Isaiah has been streaming here recently, doing Mad Lad stuff. I don't know how he could sit there for hours and attempt task strats, but he does, and it's amazing. And it's really kind of phenomenal to watch him, because he doesn't have a camera, he doesn't have a microphone. He pulls in a few hundred viewers because he's phenomenal at the game.
Right.
And he does the things that nobody wants to spend the time to try to do. But you're right. There's not a lot going on in the speedrunning community as a whole. But I feel with everybody being at home right now, we're going to be seeing some stuff.
Well, that's what I've been hoping for, at least. Is, I mean, we talk about Ouija, right? He's on the SMS grind. But I have noticed that some people, like Samurai Man, for instance, he hasn't been doing SMS lately at all.
Right.
But you've been seeing like GTM, aka Racing Man. He is on the sub 16 grind.
Yeah, he is.
In 16 star. But one of the other things I've been thinking about is like, we know, like you and I know SM64, you and I know Super Mario Odyssey and Super Mario Sunshine and that sort of thing. But like, what's like one of the nice things about this podcast is I've been kind of like trying to figure out what's going on in the broader sense of the community
Right.
at large.
Exactly.
So
And I've been kind of taking a look at things like Odyssey, Super Mario Odyssey. A year ago, Odyssey was bopping. The sub-hour grind was on. Who was going to get it first? You had like 5 or 6 people that were viable for that sub-hour, and it was just popping off.
mm-hmm.
Now we're kind of seeing a shift to where there's not very many people that are consistently running and streaming any percent. I'm sure there's people that are running it, but streaming specifically. But now we're seeing world record improvements coming from Dangers. There was a recent update to 100% for Super Mario Odyssey, which was game changing, that eliminated a lot of the coin grinding in 100% because they figured out that, oh crap, wait, we don't actually need all of this to get that 100%. We don't need 999 moons to get the 100% achievement. So that shaved off a considerable time. So we're seeing some more folks that are attempting to run 100%. I do want to do a shout out for Blood TV. So I don't know if you know anything specifically about Blood TV. He likes to run the multiple Mario games, and he just broke his record for the 3D Mario 1862. All right, which is probably one of the most ridiculous, if not the most ridiculous category in Mario speedrunning history. All right, so let me just explain it. It's Super Mario 64 120 star, Super Mario Sunshine 120 shines, Super Mario Galaxy 120 star, Super Mario Galaxy 2 242 star, Super Mario 3D World 380 star, and Super Mario Odyssey all unique moons. All right, this man just completed a run. I was a part of the raid, the last part of his run. 37 hours and 57 minutes.
The dedication there.
He did it in one setting. He was falling asleep. We typically rate him at about 34 hours, and he was literally falling asleep trying. I think he was jump grinding or jump farming. I'm sorry, but the rules are in these crazy categories. You have to do them all in succession. So you do them in succession. You can do them in any order, though. You cannot stop your timer at any point. So if you take a break, you can take a break. That's fine. It's not like how Legend of Zelda 100% is, where you can take a break, pause, and then pick it back up later. It's the timer must be running the entire time. So, and video, of course, is required for all the runs. But 37 hours, dude. I haven't stayed up longer than 24 hours since I was like 20, 19.
I was looking up some runs. I forget what games. I know Pokemon Stadium, there's a run where you complete the entire game. You do Gym Leader Castle round 1 and round 2, and then you do literally everything. All the cups, all the mini games, everything. 24 hours.
That's insane.
I don't know what compels people to do this sort of thing. Like I don't know. Like, how do you do that? How do you stay? What's using the restroom? What's eating? Like, you're just going.
You just don't.
Oh my god.
Timpani is probably one of the kings of that. I know he was hanging out earlier. Dangers as well has done a main board marathon for Super Mario Odyssey. You're looking at an ungodly long time to sit and play a game, and it is dedication. But that kind of brings us to the next point, I think.
Yep.
Speedrunning is an esport. Now, I'll tell you this. I don't know if you got the chance to see it, but Cheese and Simply, the original dads from another grandpa, I guess. But as a part of the Two Dads podcast, they one of their last podcasts was live, and I believe it was with ATL Insider, if I'm not mistaken. But they discussed in the podcast of, is speedrunning an esport? So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So I didn't get to listen to the podcast that you mentioned. I know you talked about it in the first episode. I just didn't get around to doing it. I'm kind of conflicted on it, if I'm being honest, because Because you could, if we're talking about sports as a whole, you could talk about how golf is a sport and compare golfing to speedrunning. Because what speedrunning really is it's you competing against yourself. Sure, you have the leaderboards, right? But that's the same thing as in golf, where you have a leaderboard. But really, it's okay. Who can beat this course with the lowest amount of strokes, right? It's the exact same thing as who can beat this in the least amount of time. And you're not going up against someone because no one is like, it's not like fighting games where someone is affecting your gameplay. It's you.
I mean, could you imagine?
Yeah.
Like Tiger Woods, like you're trying to putt and Tiger Woods just like runs up to your ball and yeets it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? You're not playing against someone. Yeah. And so I looked up the definition. So the definition, according to Merriam-Webster and Dictionary.com, is esports, competitive tournaments of video games, especially among professional gamers, as related to sports. Now, Andrew McFly and I were kind of talking just a little while ago. We went back to the argument of, is speedrunning an art? Well, this ties into that. It absolutely does. So take basketball, for example. Basketball, you practice really hard, you learn the drills, all of this good stuff. Now, you wouldn't necessarily consider basketball to be an art, but it is a sport. I don't know. At the heart of it, the argument that they made in the Two Dads podcast was that speedrunning was not a sport, because a sport inherently is what you were just talking about. It's two teams against each other. Or like Call of Duty. Call of Duty is an esport because it's two teams back against each other. But like the definition of the word sport is an activity requiring skill or physical prowess, and often as of a competitive nature, such as racing, baseball, tennis, golf, bowling, wrestling, boxing, hunting, fishing. So I think, no one's going out and hiring a speedrun coach, but I'm trying to think of what I'm getting at here with like track and field. Under that definition, track and field in and of itself is not a sport. Because you're not going against someone. You're not racing. You don't have another team you're going against. I mean, I guess you are for points, maybe, if you're racing.
Yeah.
But if I'm going out to take my 100-meter dash and lower the time by 8 seconds, is that sport? Is it sporting? So I think it's a subjective definition. It's not something that's objective. So it's going to be similar to the art thing where we discussed, where you don't have something that's necessarily just defined.
Yeah. Like, again, the big thing for me is that competitive aspect of it, right? I think it is an esport. I believe it. I believe it is, because in the same vein as golf, in the same vein as track, in the same vein as these sports that, like bowling, even, right? Bowling is technically a sport. But again, you're in no way, shape, or form can your competitor affect your gameplay other than the mental aspect of it, which is present in speedrunning. It's very present, especially in racing.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
So, I think that's there. The big thing that is conflicting in my mind, and we can kind of combine topics here, but it's like, is speed running as competitive or as speedable necessarily? Because that's the main thing I think about when I think about like the community, is how presentable is it? Is speed running as presentable as an esport as these other esports, like fighting games like Melee or Smash Ultimate, right? Or I'm forgetting. I forget at least one thing every episode, I swear. What's like the shooting game? Not Call of Duty. Oh my goodness, where it has an economy and everything.
Right.
What's the name of it? Oh God, someone in chat, help me out. Oh Lord, it's on Steam. It's a CS:GO. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
CS:GO.
Yeah, no, I'm that like CS:GO is such a good esport because it's competitive, because you have to strategize and everything like that. Whereas with speedrunning, it's how good are you? You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Well, there's and if you Google is speedrunning an esport, there's literally tons of posts. There's even YouTube videos of speedrunning is not an esport, and the argument that they're saying is, and this is from Mythopoeic, I believe. It says, like I said at the end of the video, golf isn't a sport. It's just a game that's played competitively. I'm not really concerned with people being unhappy if they're told that a game they enjoy isn't a sport, as that's just an appeal to emotion and is an argument. I give rallying and motorsports as a point as being interesting, and I don't know. I think this is not necessarily an argument, but it is a huge debate. I mean, Gamehouse in 2018 did a massive news article on speedrunning. Is it a sport? As a matter of fact, back then, Esports Arena to host $5,000 speedrunning PvP grudge match for it's crazy, and that was against Trihex and someone else. I can't even remember who it was. But if you go through here, I mean, Reddit is literally littered. Literally littered. Is that a thing? It's littered with so many comments on, I want to grow running as an esport. ESPN, I don't know if you knew this, by the way. ESPN did a story on the Global Speedrun Association and PACE.
Yep.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I remember when I was first started commentating that I did some research on GSA and I found that article.
So I'm going to post that article in chat so that people can see that. And it's a really interesting take. And this is coming from the king of sports, ESPN. Not ESPN the Ocho, but ESPN, that the place that literally displays all sports, anything, handball, anything. So I think it is a debate. Now, I think that there's a lot of emotion into that debate as well. Of people defending that, oh no, what I'm doing is a sport, just like the same thing we saw with art, where there is emotion in it, and it's because of the amount of time and effort and skill that's put into speedrunning, and I think that's where that emotion comes from.
Yeah, and you're right. And anything that you're dedicated to, you're going to defend with everything you've got, right? It's not just this thing that it's like, oh, whatever. And especially with video games, you've got some of the most dedicated people on the face of the earth.
Versus PlayStation.
Oh my God,
PC versus. Well, it makes me think of cheerleaders. So cheerleaders have been defending that cheerleading is a sport for years. You know, they have the competitions down in Florida, and it's huge. But they've had to fight that uphill battle for many years, and I think it's the same thing. A lot of people play on emotions, and for me, at the end of the day, I really don't care if you call it a sport. I don't care if you call it an esport, an art. I don't care if you call it a big pile of crap. I still enjoy doing it, and if you do, you should do it as well.
Well, and that's all that should really matter at the end of the day is, we can have the debate, but it really doesn't matter, what it is. It's still what it is, and it's speedrunning, and it's, if you enjoy it, who cares? It comes back to kind of like that thing what we said last episode. If you like VC, if you like console, who cares?
Yeah,
but
who cares?
No, I mean, I would be on the side of saying that it is an esport because it has that competitive nature.
It does.
It takes practice. It takes, it takes finesse, really. And, people will say that, golf, Tiger Woods is so strong and this, that, and the other thing. And he can hit it far because it's strength training. And yeah, it's a lot of strength training. But if you actually know golf, and I've been playing it since I was 2, it's really a finesse game.
It is.
My drives became longer when my shot, when my swing became more finessed and it became a better swing. It didn't become better. I didn't drive it further because I started working out. I drove it further because my swing was better. And it's the
Right.
same way with speedrunning. Like there's not really any strength involved. There's a heck of a lot of endurance. I mean, we talk about long speedruns,
Oh
right?
my God, yes.
That's endurance. You got to be able to withstand it and be able to, we say you're sitting there, sure. Like, and sitting isn't too hard, but you've got to be able to withstand the pressure and be able to mentally handle it. And your hands might get tired or whatever. I mean,
And they do.
And after an hour and 40 minutes of running, your hands might be exhausted, especially with like an SM64 speed run. You're constantly on top of it. You're doing something. There's no
Right.
break. There is no break with a 120-star speed run. There just isn't.
There isn't.
So I think that I think the big reason why people are so fast to defend speedrunning as an esport is because people who make it not an esport make it sound like it's less than what it really is. So, yeah.
I think that makes sense.
I think that,
Now,
yeah.
now as kind of a segue,
You okay?
you know, we have this debate in the community a lot. What do you think makes a good speed game?
Yeah, so this is a viewer topic. And when I first saw this topic, I was like, dang, I've been wanting to talk about this for so long.
Because there's a debate. I'm telling you, it's crazy. I'll look at a game and I'll be like, man, this looks like it would be a blast to speedrun, and they're like, oh no, that's garbage because of this, and so I mean, we'll start with you. What is your opinion of a good speed game?
Okay, so first off, a good speed game has to like be visually fun to look at, right?
Sure.
So SM64 and OOT. Okay, the reason why they're the top dogs is because it's nice to look at. Okay, the 007 GoldenEye speedrun. It's very competitive. And that's a very dedicated group of people there.
It is.
But the reason why it's not a big speed game and why it's not popular is because it's not visually fun to look at. You're looking at the ground. You're looking at the ground for 75% of that run.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like visually speaking, I don't want to watch that, and it's not. It's not interesting. It's not something like fun per se. Like those guys find it fun, and they have a different brain than a lot of people. But
and that's not a bad thing.
No, absolutely not.
But you know, when it comes to speed games, you know, I agree with you with that. And for me, a speed game, we talked about this before. I'm into momentum-based games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not into a lot of the technical of, oh, I got to turn around 3 times, I shove my finger up my nose, and now I glitch through a wall. I'm more into the glitchless categories, you know, where it takes skill to try to figure out how to beat this game as fast as possible by meeting these set objectives. For example, Odyssey's movement. What attracted me to Odyssey, because the movement is just so smooth. Mm-hmm. It flows. You can combo moves together, and you can move Mario around. Watching top-level SM64 runners, it's the exact same thing of watching these guys fly through these levels with finesse, I guess is a good term. Mm-hmm. You know, games that I'm interested in as a possible speedrun, A Hat in Time looks great. Yeah, like A Hat in Time looks like a really cool-looking speed game. Celeste is another one with it's very momentum-based, it's very movement-based, and that's my opinion of a good speed game. But I think that SM64 and Ocarina of Time, or OOT, are 2 completely different speed games that cannot be compared at all. Mm-hmm. I love watching Super Mario 64 speedruns. As far as Ocarina of Time, I enjoy watching the old Any percent, but to watch, you know, 100%, unless it's, you know, one of my boys that's really grinding, it's tough for me to sit and watch all of that because I don't understand everything that's going on. It's not easy to just kind of pick up and say, oh, this is what he's trying to do.
Yep.
You know, but that's just my opinion.
Well, that was going to be my second thing was with speed games, it's got to be digestible. Right? So you've got to understand what's going on. With SM64, it's very easy to understand what's going on. Here, another one, Super Mario Brothers. That's a very easy game to understand what's going on because it's such a simple game, and it's only so many buttons, and there's only so many things that you can do. It's the same way with SM64. There's only so many buttons. There's only so many things you can do. Whereas in
Right.
OOT, there were moves when I did my first run through of OOT. I didn't realize there were certain moves that you could do until I watched a speed run.
Oh yeah.
And like I'm like, oh, I could have done that. I didn't know. I didn't know I could backflip.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't a move I knew I could do it, because there's a combination of things that you have to do to be able to do it. So that's the one big thing is it digestible, and it kind of infuriates me to a certain degree, because like I mentioned Kopka in the first episode. Kopka to me is extremely digestible. Like it's such an easy game to pick up and put down. It doesn't take long to learn. But
I watched your runs, by the way.
Yeah.
I should have pointed out.
Oh, I appreciate that. But no one runs it, and I tried to figure out why no one runs it, and I realized that the final component to a good speed game is it has to be popular on its own.
Yeah, it does.
OT is popular on its own. SM64 is popular on its own. Super Mario Odyssey is popular on its own, and those are the trifecta for why those games are such good speed games.
It is, but I mean, I do think that you have like the exception to the rule as well. So like Celeste, I think the developers did really, really well at, marketing their game to really appeal to speedrunners. You don't see Nintendo doing that because they don't have to. But Celeste, they put up $5,000 towards the prize pool for the grand finals. So they really marketed their game well towards the speedrunning community. But I think Celeste is kind of like, I don't know, an outlier in that, because I didn't know what Celeste was before I saw a speedrun of it. I've never even heard of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree that generally, yes, that game has to be like Nintendo or SM64. For me, why I think it was the most run speed game is nostalgia. How many people, while you're in a stream, while you're playing Super Mario 64, how many people come in and say, "Oh my God, dude, I did this when I was a kid. Holy crap, what are you doing? This is amazing." Happens all the time.
Well, that's what happened with me. So,
see,
yeah.
And because Nintendo 64 and Ocarina of Time and those play on that nostalgia, I think that's why they do significantly better than, for example, Super Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey, like I said earlier, is going through a really kind of lower time right now than it ever has before.
Yep. Well, and then the other thing is, you've seen this with Super Mario 64 in particular lately, is how much do runners like promote it? You know, we talk about branding. We talk about showing off the speedrun community as a whole. One thing that the runners of Super Mario 64 are really good at is promoting it by creating opportunities for people to want to do it. So like the bounties. All of the bounties that you've seen over the past couple months, there have been so there was an all signs bounty.
Yeah.
All signs.
Crazy.
Like and then you had guys like Hackasay and I think Tom Carr was part of that group that were doing all coins for a little while. So you had dedicated groups who were like pushing these different categories within SM64 to kind of branch out of just 120, outside of just 70 or 16 star, which are the big popular ones, right?
Right.
So and allowing people to see there's more to it than just these categories that you see here.
Right.
So that's a big thing about SM64, that the community is just really good at promoting that kind of stuff.
I agree.
So, but no, I mean, it fascinates me sometimes, like to see what games you can speedrun. You know, like like speedrunning Plague Inc. Evolved. Like what the heck? Like why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now, actually.
Yeah. I'm looking at speedrun.com right now. Call of Duty. Modern Warfare. They're speedrunning that, beating it in 29 seconds. What the heck? Oh, that's the Mile High Club. Category. But it fascinates me all the time, like what games are being run, and
Oh, it's insane.
whatever, how quickly the thing that fascinated me the most was how quickly the Luigi's Mansion 3 speedrun came out. Like that came out the day after that game was released.
That's huge.
So watching that community kind of develop has been fascinating. So I don't know. At the end of the day, do I know what makes a good speed game? I have no idea. Like there are games that I love speedrunning. Donkey Kong on the NES. I love speedrunning that game because it's a quick game that I can pick up, put down, and it's not too difficult. But no one's really running that game, and it kind of confuses, like, why aren't people running this game? It's so easy to pick up, put down.
For example, Battle for Bikini Bottom is a huge speed game, right?
Yeah. Like,
absolutely huge. But its best friend, SpongeBob SquarePants movie, is not run that much.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely insane. So I don't know what the magical algorithm is.
Yeah.
Turok, which I think would be an amazing speed game. Because it's not just staring at the ground like GoldenEye, like you're actually completing objectives and things. And I loved Turok as a kid. I don't know.
And I just categorized speedrun.com by the most active speedruns. Interestingly, Ocarina of Time isn't very high on the list. But Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
Right.
You got almost 100 active
players 97
on there.
Active players right now.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 9th on the list.
Right.
Portal, that's another one. I don't know what Refunct is. You know what's a fascinating community is the Minecraft community.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's blown my mind.
Yeah.
Like them watching those speedruns. I actually tried doing it at one point. I'm like, I can't do this. There's no way.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's really hard.
It's not easy at all. But right now, sorting by the most players, you got SM64, SMO, and A Link to the Past is in third. But you've got, looks like in the top 20, you've got Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
You've got Super Metroid, which is huge. That was a community I wasn't even exposed to until GSA.
Mm-hmm.
Cuphead is another one.
Cuphead, that's a fun speedrun to watch, actually.
It is.
Oh my god.
Grand Theft Auto, which are incredibly long speedruns. So do I know what the cookie cutter answer is? No, because Roblox Speedrun 4. I don't even know what that is. I really don't. But 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's the 14th, has the 14th most players on speedrun.com.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's just got to have this nice combination. It really does. Like, you look at Super Mario 64, Odyssey. A Link to the Past is up there on the list. Portal. These are all games that, like, we all know. We all know and love these games. They're pretty games by themselves. And the mechanics behind them are really interesting. Oh gosh, there was a game on here. Pokemon Red Blue.
Yep, I saw that on
that was the thing that I think is the perfect example of a good speed game. It's a game that everyone loves. It's a pretty game. It's easy to pick up, put down. It's easy to understand, but it's really hard to master. I mean, you look at these guys that have mastered it, like Worcester and who else? I'm trying to look at my list on Twitch.com as to who runs. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting names now. Worcester's the big one, especially because he runs Pokemon Stadium a big time, and he has a lot of people following him. There's a couple other names that I can't think of right now off the top of my head. But anyway, regardless, you look at the spreadsheet that these guys work off for the speed run. It's insane how, like, down to the most minute decimal that these guys focus on. But the community for it is huge.
It is.
So, again, at the end of the day, What's a good speed game? I don't know. Again, I don't know why Kopka isn't a good speed game because it's easy to pick up, put down. It's a pretty game, and it's relatively popular.
Meanwhile, we have Super Mario or Superman 64 is ran as a speed game.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I mean, and then, well, and that's the other thing is that you've got people who run these like totally crazy, like, what are you doing speed game? sort by fewest players. Like, what are these games? People that's on there zero. Well, these are zero total players. Why are there games on here with zero total players?
People added the game as in they wanted to run it, and then it just never became anything.
Why is there so many games that are on speedrun.com? They need a freaking. What are they doing?
So these are so that it's kind of built in there. If I understand correctly, they have them already in there. If you look, like, there's a couple of moderators. So if the game ever wants to be ran, so if you look at the top right, you can request the game to be ran or to be put on there, but then nobody submits runs. You know?
Oh my god, there's just nothing. I wish like I could find like other communities that are. Again, Kopka is the perfect example because there's just me and like two other people who, and I haven't ran the game in months, and they haven't ran the game in years. So it's just like it's kind of like that sort of thing. But I don't know. At the end of the day, you know what? Here's the thing, and I'm not bagging any games in particular, saying they're bad speed games. If you want to run the game, run the game. Okay.
Who is it? There's somebody that runs iCarly.
Oh, that's EasyScape.
EasyScape. Yep. EasyScape runs iCarly.
That's hilarious.
It is hilarious. A buddy of mine, Philly fan, he started as a meme, but now he actually runs it. It's Hello Kitty Cruisers.
There you go.
You know?
So I don't know. What makes a good speed game? I mean, you tell me at the end of the day.
There's no cookie cutting answer.
Yeah,
you know?
No. So, but yeah, away from speed running.
Yeah.
Another really interesting viewer topic suggestion. And this is something that I would love to talk about this like as just a subject by itself in one podcast. Like just talk about this for an hour because you could.
Right.
But music in video games.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. And who was it? So Kuro, that buddy that moved down with me from Xbox for a couple of years, he came down, and this is the first time I had ever been exposed to it, and I guess it makes sense now. I've always enjoyed music in games, but Kuro, the only music he listens to are game soundtracks. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he doesn't listen to pop and all this other stuff. He listens to music like that. And when you have games like, Super Mario Galaxy, which has, to me, one of the best scores in any of the Mario games, including Super Mario Odyssey, music in video games defines our era, along with movie soundtracks. It's on that same level.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, I just recently got exposed to a lot of music from video games. I never understood how people liked it, but I mean, these are full compositions of just phenomenal music. Like Celeste, which is so simple. I mean, it's literally made with a, I don't want to say keyboard, a synth. And the music is just amazing. I can listen to it for hours, to the point to where on Steam you can buy the soundtrack separate.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Yep. Well, and Cuphead's in that same vein.
Oh yeah.
You look at the how that game was made, musically speaking. It's insane the amount of details. I mean, drawing the detail is insane, but then the music, that's another one where it's like this is really good, beautiful music, and they focused really hard on that, on pairing the art direction with the music.
Right.
And they did a really good job with that, kind of bringing back that kind of 1930s, 1940s era music with the art style and keeping that pace up because of how fast the game can be.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that now, we kind of had an era for a little while of AAA developers just throwing out games left and right. Now that we're seeing a lot of these indie game developers come up, we're seeing some phenomenal soundtracks that create that feeling of emotion. You know, we don't even notice it, but even just playing a game, I can't remember what game I was watching, but oh no, it wasn't me watching a game. It was me playing a game. I was playing Inside on stream, and I'm completing the puzzles, and how the music makes you feel literally changes your emotion in the game. You're on the right track of accomplishing a puzzle because of how the music changes. It is amazing what they're doing with music in games now.
Well, and you talk about SM64 real quick. Dire Docks and Jolly Roger Bay.
Yes.
Depending on what area you are in those levels, the music kind of changes. If you're above the water and you're in that cave area in JRB, or if you're on top of the sub, you have the drum beat in the background. Whereas if you're in the water, it's just that nice kind of calm, airy music that plays.
So, fun fact: a lot of people don't realize this. So the theme for Cool Cool Mountain is actually the slide song "Slowed Down." People literally have never realized that, but yes, in Cool Cool Mountain, when you come in, it's that tippy music, the ding 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 ding. It's slowed down specifically in Cool Cool Mountain.
Now I can't unhear that.
Exactly. It's so Oddcat, as a matter of fact, who we mentioned before, he does the intro to this podcast, and great Super Mario 64 speedrunner. He didn't realize what you were just saying about the drums until I showed him literally yesterday. Watch when I jump out of the water and listen to the and how it changes. And that's a game that's 24 years old now. So
well, and let's go further back, right? You think about like the 8-bit games and the music that they had. Think about like Super Mario Brothers. Think about Castlevania. Castlevania is a great game when it comes to like early music within video games, because that had a nice soundtrack that went along with what the game was, right? And unfortunately, within that era, you also had like really peppy, annoying music.
Sure.
I want to say Lion King. That music it wasn't awful, but it was just like, okay, I'm over this now.
Exactly.
Or the one thing I did notice with video games is if they transferred to a different console, they might change the music.
Right.
And the music would go from being like, oh, this isn't bad, this is good music, but then you play it on a different console, it's like, this is awful. This is just god awful, and I don't want to listen to this.
One of those was like.
But I don't know, like, what's your favorite soundtrack?
Honestly, and I know this is going to sound kind of crazy, but Michael Jackson, Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Oh, there you go.
Michael Jackson, Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
That's a good one.
A lot of people don't realize that Michael Jackson provided uncredited musical contributions to Sonic 3. It's crazy, but that sticks out of my brain. I remember loading it up on my Genesis, and Ice Cap Zone. Oh my God, Super Mario 64. Of course, I hear that music every single day.
Yeah, so it gets kind of repetitive and annoying just because it's in your brain constantly.
So I don't have that nostalgic feeling with that. But the festival in Super Mario Odyssey, literally, I will play World Peace so that I can listen to the festival.
Yeah.
And like, it's great. What about you?
I'm trying to think through like all the games that I've played, and for those of you watching or listening, I've got factmag.com up right now with the 100 best soundtracks. Their number one is Eco. I've never played that before, but
Echo, the dolphin?
no, ICO.
Oh,
Eco.
ICO.
I don't know. I've never played the game.
I've never heard of that. No.
Silent Hill. Okay, I've got it. I know which one I want now.
Or what is it?
Katamari Damacy.
Katamari Damacy. Yeah.
Oh my god!
I agree.
I remember playing that game and hearing, oh, it's beautiful, and it's poppy, it's fun, it really encapsulates Japanese music in video games, and it went along perfectly with the game too, and that's like if you say Katamari Damacy, everyone knows what you're talking about as far as music goes.
Oh yeah, of course. Undertale.
Oh my god.
Undertale's got some great music too.
That's
and really, again, Undertale is one of those games where the music does affect your emotions in the game. Period.
Well, and not so much music here, but more atmospheric. But Portal.
Oh yeah,
the first one.
I agree with that.
Not necessarily. It's not necessarily music in the sense of like a track per se, but it's just the atmosphere that it creates.
Right.
And I think that's if we're going to talk about like what the point of a soundtrack or music within video games is, and you talked about it a little bit with Limbo, and Inside, right? It's creating the atmosphere is what fits in this game, right? Bubsy 3D, that music does not fit that game in any way, shape, or form.
Doesn't.
And that game, and you know what? That game sucks to begin with. It's a terrible game. But the music on top of that just makes it even more awful because it just does not fit what's going on in any way, shape, or form.
What about Assassin's Creed?
Assassin's Creed, I'd say that's a little bit better. I would say that the score as a whole isn't fantastic, but when you're outside of like cutscenes and everything like that, it creates a good atmosphere. Like I
agree
said.
with that.
I'm trying. I had another one that came off the top of my head. Tony. That's literally the one I was just about to say. Tony Hawk is perfect because they picked the perfect soundtrack. They picked the perfect songs that go along with that culture. Like me as a surfer, like I remember growing up and listening to surf music that went along with 90s to early 2000s surf music, and that's what it was. It was Goldfinger. It was all that kind of stuff, you know?
Right. Well, we haven't mentioned one, and I think that fans of the sorry about that. So I think that fans of the podcast would be really upset if I didn't mention it. And The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, of course.
Saria's song, Hyrule Field theme, Song of Storms, all of these things just go perfectly with that game, and music is wrapped into that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, well, and that's the thing. Legend of Zelda as a whole, like music, really encapsulates. Music really in those games is a part of the game.
It is.
Like it's not so much just like, oh, it's this thing that creates atmosphere and everything. It's actually a mechanic.
It's exactly. It's a part of the game, just as the Ganon fight is.
Mm-hmm.
It's. Could you imagine playing Ocarina of Time without music?
And now that I think about that, like it just understanding how encapsulating the music is for that game, like I can't play that game any other way.
Right.
Let me hit you with another one. Are you ready? And here's where video game music becomes meme culture.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take you back to I want to say 2015, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
There was a video going around the internet. It was taken by storm, and not only was it the single video, but people were replicating the video, right? It was kind of similar to back in, 2013 when Filthy Frank did the, what's it called? The Harlem Shake.
Right.
Remember how that took over? In the
Yep.
same way, this video game soundtrack took over the internet by storm in 2016, 2017.
What is it?
Halo Combat Evolved.
Oh, of course.
If you recall, there was a high school bathroom, boys'
Yep.
bathroom, and one boy walks in and begins singing. It begins, oh,
Yeah.
and then the entire boys' bathroom just erupts as a choir with that song. And I think that's another thing is like how people take hold of these songs so much. Like if you go to bed with it in your head, you know it's a good song. Or
Exactly.
either it's really, really good or it's just absolutely awful.
Or really bad.
Yeah.
Like, no joke, you mentioned Lion King. Lion King on the Sega Genesis was muted.
Mm-hmm.
Because, oh my god, why?
I'll say this: Pokemon Yellow. I don't play that with music on because it's just repetitive. It's the beepy boppy music, and I just hate it. Pokemon Ruby or Pokemon Emerald. I love that soundtrack. Every single area is it's great bops, great music, fantastic. I love it.
Wow. Huh.
So
Interesting.
I think that's the big thing is like how does it fit into the game? Let me hit you with a bad one. Sonic is it Sonic Adventure 2?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Probably.
Sonic, yeah.
Hello. I think we lost him.
Got it?
We're back.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah, we're good.
Stupid. That stupid Sonic the Hedgehog song going around at the speed of sound. That freaking.
Oh, I know what you're talking
my god! Just awful. It's just,
I know what you're talking about.
I hate this so much. Now some of the atmospheric stuff in that game, like the Knuckles stages, those were pretty cool. But oh my god, the music is just.
It's really not good.
But everyone knows it's not good. And everyone remembers it for not being good at all.
Which is funny that I mentioned Sonic 3.
Yeah.
Right? And then we end that with another Sonic game, but on the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, that's the unfortunate thing about Sonic is that like you have like the first Sonic games, the ones that were, left to right or not necessarily left to right, but 2D scrollers versus the 3D games, just night and day. So.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think we've beaten that one up a bit.
A little bit.
One more topic.
All right.
And I think, and I've got to do a little bit of research while we talk about this one. But we talk about old games that we've played. I've got all my old video game systems. I've got my NES. I've got my N64. I've got my PlayStation 2. I've got my old Game Boy Advance. I've got a Game Boy Color. Talk about old games a lot because we're dads. We're old guys.
Of course.
And that's what we grew up with, and that's what we like talking about is those old games, right?
Right.
But we don't really talk about new games too much.
Yeah, we don't.
I know you got a Switch. You play Odyssey. I've got a Switch myself. What games are you looking forward to? I mean, we got next gen consoles coming out soon.
Right.
You talk about Xbox Series X. We talked about that in the last podcast. PlayStation's got their new system coming out soon-ish. Nintendo recently talked about porting some Mario games over, but it might be a little bit of an April Fool's thing there. We didn't get to talk about that last week.
Because Nintendo, of course, refuses to speculate on any of that. So all of those, and I get people at least once or twice a stream come in and say, "Oh my God, what would you do if they remastered SM64?" And I try to tell them, look, when Nintendo says this is what we're going to do, then I'll believe it.
Yeah.
But as far as games for me that I'm really interested in, the big one on my list, September, it's kind of been pushed back a little bit, but Cyberpunk 2077 looks really, really good.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Looks really, really good. Watch Dogs Legion, that doesn't have an official release date. It's just Ubisoft has said it's going to be 2020. You're seeing a trend here, by the way, with me in these open world sandbox games. But I loved the first two Watch Dogs. I don't care what anybody said. I thought they were great games. Saints Row the Third is being remastered this year, so I'm really kind of interested to see what they're doing. But finally, a really weird one for me, but I'm super interested in it. It comes out May 26th. Minecraft Dungeons.
Ooh, I have seen stuff about that actually.
It looks cool.
You talk about Minecraft and you think of the sandbox aspect of it, and they had something similar to the dungeons, back with like it was more story based stuff.
Right.
But like to have an actual like game that's linear, and like you have to complete specific tasks. It's not just arbitrary. Kind of interests me.
I mean, I love dungeon crawlers anyway. I'm a huge D&D fan. You know, when I moved to Colorado, that's one of the biggest things I'm excited about is I'm actually getting back my original Dungeons and Dragons group together. And being back as a part of that, I've never been a huge fan of Minecraft, but reading through, this is probably to me going to be the closest thing to Minecraft 2 that we're ever going to get. Little massive dungeons where it's more of an RPG element versus a building element. It's gonna be freaking cool. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, no. By the way, D&D, we got to talk about that in the next podcast.
Oh yeah,
we're talking D&D in the next podcast for sure. But moving on.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. But again, it's looking at a game. It's a game that you're looking at it from a different perspective. Minecraft again it's an art. It's a sandbox thing, like you said, right?
Right.
And it's all about like you doing what you want with the world, but all of a sudden taking the exact same components and moving it into a different type of game.
Right.
I mean, especially with how good Minecraft is, and we meme about Minecraft, but it's a good game. It is. It is. It solidified itself in the textbook of video game history as like the quintessential sandbox game. So to take that game and move it over into a different perspective, it's going to be really interesting.
I agree.
So.
What about you? What are you looking forward to?
See, here's the thing with me is like I'm very picky when it comes to new games that are coming out. I am so picky. It's unless it's something I know for sure I'm gonna like. I'm very very slow to pick to go buy a new game.
Right.
Like when I first got an Xbox 360 for myself, the only games I had were like FIFA, Skyrim. And then I think I had Grand Theft Auto or something like that. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I very slowly pick up games.
Sure.
But one game that has been on my radar is along the vein of Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls game that's supposed to be coming out soon.
Right.
Bethesda's kind of been teasing it. They teased it at the last E3 about a year ago. Cyberpunk 2077. That looks interesting because of the idea behind it. It's open world, that sort of thing. But really, not really much on. I'm looking at the list of games coming out soon. Most of the games that I'm interested in are like re-releases, like Battlefield Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. That's a re-release. It's not. Right. That's not a new game.
But you got to realize too, and it's something we talked about in our first podcast. With E3 and all of these events not happening, I think that there's a lot of developers that had just not said what's going to happen this year. So, hopefully things will change. This year's kind of dry with the COVID stuff going on, but I still think we'll see some kind of like random things pop up that will be surprising this year that we weren't expecting. Yeah. GTA 6 has been teased for how long?
I mean, that was being teased as soon as GTA 5 came out.
Right.
So, and then for thinking about how long it took for GTA 5 to finally come out, I highly doubt you're going to see that for another couple of years. But no, I mean, the big thing that I try to do is I try to look for the indie games that are coming out because that's kind of like my wheelhouse. I'm not really into AAA titles as much as I am into those smaller games.
That makes sense.
So, but again, there's not really much right now. We're kind of in this lull, which is really unfortunate. I would love to see. You know what? Here's another game that was teased that we haven't heard much about is the new Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2.
Right.
That's a game that I'm really looking forward to that we haven't heard anything about at all.
I just want to point this out because I just realized this as I'm looking at my screen.
Yeah.
GTA 5 came out 7 years ago.
Yeah.
7 years.
Yeah.
And the game is still relevant. How many games that are not MMOs are still relevant 7 years after their release?
Well, and again,
I mean, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that was GTA 5 is just I just played through it again just so that I could have as much money as I possibly could on each character just so I could mess around. But it's one of those sandbox games that you can just mess around with.
Well, when did GTA 4 come out? That's because I didn't think it was that big of a gap between GTA 4 and GTA 5. Just see, GTA 4 came out 2008,
Yeah.
9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that's 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which GTA 4 is probably my least favorite in that series.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think that universally we can agree that GTA 4 was kind of mediocre. But
yeah,
art direction, especially the driving, that was just awful.
The driving was terrible.
Oh my god. No, I'm trying to look through more games. It's just like
I don't see a whole lot right now.
No.
Now, I think during the summer when you have that lull, I think we're gonna see more releases of, hey, this is what's coming up. Hopefully, as we get closer to, I don't, as far as this Nintendo 64 rehash and SMS and all that, we're not going to hear from Nintendo till September, guaranteed.
Yep.
So I'm gonna put a pin in that. We can rehash that in September. But I don't see a whole lot other than Cyberpunk and Watch Dogs for me personally that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Indie titles, I don't see a whole lot.
Yeah. Now I think that if you I'd say 3 or 4 podcasts from now, I think we bring this topic back up. I think we'll have a different story,
I'm cool
and
with
we'll
that.
be saying something different. Because I try to check on the Switch store, like the Nintendo eShop, to see if there's anything coming out. It's just small indie games that look interesting, but I'm just like, I'm not willing to shell out $20 for this. Like Untitled Goose Game was something that I was willing to like. Okay, as soon as this game comes out, I'm going to play this because it was just something that it became a cult classic kind of game almost. But really, right now, what I'm most interested in is collecting and getting back into, like I said in the last podcast, games that I didn't get around to playing when I was a kid, or games that I remembered playing as a kid that I just really, really loved and really enjoyed. Gauntlet Legends. Oh my God, I've been trying to get back into that game because I remember sitting down and playing with my friends in the neighborhood. Because after what would we do? We would come home, quickly do our homework, play outside, eat dinner. Then right after dinner, we'd go in and we'd be playing Gauntlet Legends. And I think we played that for like a month straight to get through the whole game. And I just remember that and getting back into that sort of thing. So.
So did you know Skyrim and Witcher 3 are coming to Switch?
I did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I have all my buddies have been telling me about Witcher 3, saying you have got to play that game.
It is good.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even played the whole way through, but it is very good.
Yeah. But like I said, I think that if you give us, if you come back about 2-3 months from now, I think that we'll be singing a different song.
I agree.
So, but yeah, I think that's it.
I think so too. I mean, guys, honestly, if you're not a part of the Discord, or we're going to put it down in the description, link description, we want to hear from you. I was shocked when I went into Discord before recording this episode and realized how many people truly said, "Hey, I want to hear about this. I want to hear about this." So much to the point that we couldn't even fit all of the topics in. So any of those topics we did miss, we'll definitely rehash those. But we truly do listen to the things that you guys want to hear. And any feedback, I've had multiple messages saying, "Hey, think about it like this, or think about this perspective," and that's what we want to hear. I'm at Tharoah on Twitter. Scotch is at Scotch and Tie Guy on Twitter. We both stream. We're both literally all over the internet. We've got Gaming Dad's Facebook, which is popping off, by the way. I wanted to tell you that.
Yeah.
The Gaming Dad's Facebook page, I think we're up to like 100 and something followers.
Nice.
Because we post gaming news a couple of times a day, or just random memes, whatever we decide to find. So check that out. A lot of good info there. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we just got 43 new likes on Facebook this week.
Yeah. So we're all over the place, man. I'm not on the Facebook, so I appreciate you keeping me updated on the Facebook stuff.
No worries. And
yeah.
Ultimately, we're here for you guys. That's the reason why we do this. You know, we get up here, we sit, we talk, we chat. We like to hear each other's opinions. You know, we don't agree always. We do agree on a lot, but we want to talk about things that you want to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
So go into the Discord, go use these different platforms. Let us know what you want to hear. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Well, I think
and hopefully.
Oh, good.
I was going to say, hopefully we could do more of these live. It's been really nice kind of keeping an eye on chat. And again, you guys are getting a sneak peek. Everybody else is not going to hear this for another, almost week, 6 days?
Yeah, pretty close to it, yeah. This Tuesday, so next Monday. So, yeah, 6 days from now. And hopefully we'll be able to get, like, a Gaming Dad's Twitch channel if we get enough of a following. That'd be nice. But maybe hold off on that for a little bit. But yeah, well, I think that's a good place to stop off. As usual, thank you, Tharoah. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. You as well.
And yeah, so thanks to everyone for watching live. This will be on the YouTube channel. What is it? What's the date? The Monday, the 20th.
20th. Yep.
Yeah. So, but catch us next time. We'll be back, episode 4. Tharoah, you're moving soon, so good luck with the move.
Thank you.
So keep us updated on that, and yeah, but stick around, subscribe, leave a like, join the Discord, find us on Twitter, everything like that. So thanks. Take it easy.
Thanks, guys.